start with the JOLT page that was made, as this has the basic introduction to the lesson. So, this is Newshour student news reports, and just background. This was a class on news media, and it was only 6 or 7 students. We'd just come back from fully online classes to now doing face-to-face classes, but always, kind of in the midst of what's going on. I have learners, any level, because really it's just about communication. So, this kind of project doesn't even have to be in English. I mean, young kids could do it in Japanese or something like that. But some of my goals were cooperation and collaboration between the learners. And so that's the reason I put them in groups. And, for this task, we've been looking at news stories, actual news. But what kind of news stories can they report on with I want to say between reasonable and minimal amount of effort? I mean, they can't make a news report about some of the harder news, and actually talk to somebody else. And I also wanted to have an interview as part of this project. So decided to make it about school related topics, and just some easy topics to talk about would be the school library and the school cafeteria. If you're going to make a report about what's available and what kind of facilities do other students have access to, let's do that. So the goal was for students to create an informative news story about some aspect. And I put them in groups of, I guess 3, because there are only 6 students, but I think group size 2, 3, anything is fine. With them helping each other is the goal. So I'm going to switch screen shares here, and I'm going to jump into the LMS I was using, which was Canvas. So I'm a big believer also in creating material with the students. So when I introduced the project about questions for library and cafeteria, the first part of the task was, together, what kind of questions would you ask in a library? What kind of information would you expect if you were reading some kind of article about the library or about the cafeteria? And when I gave them time to come up with those, then I'd have them tell them to me, and I would live input them into this page. And then, we'd go over them. I can't remember specifically if I deleted any, looking like, not, but, this kind of information. How many people work in the library? When are you open? How many can be there, all at one time? What are you doing about COVID-19? How many books? Foreign language books? What are the most popular? What magazines? What else do you have? How long can you check out a book? What's the penalty? What's special about OGU library? I mean, I think I kind of pushed this one as that, you're going to be interviewing somebody. So, what are they proud of, or what do they think of this institution that they look for? And the, critical thinking aspect of it was, if you're going to interview somebody, you should not ask questions that can easily be found on the door of the library, or just, with a basic internet search. You want to talk to them to get useful information. And, cafeteria, these kinds of questions, so like this one, how many doors are there? Is there an emergency exit? This was something I was like, well, you don't need to ask that person when you go, because you can just look at the cafeteria and you can count the doors and you can see the emergency exits. So while it's good information, this shouldn't be one of your interview questions. And then, once they were finalized, I posted them online, because students are not the greatest note takers, and I want to make sure that they have access to this kind of information if they need it. So we did this in the end of one period of class, and I kind of stretched this out over a few class periods, just to make the timing easier, especially with group work that requires them to do something outside of class. I don't necessarily know when they have common times together. So for something like this, which time-wise wouldn't take a lot of time, I just built it into the class time itself. So, week 4, we started with the questions for the library. And then, week 5 was your interviews. And today I'll send you off to interview people. Ask them if they have time to talk, be polite, ask them questions, thank them for their time, and do not ask any questions you can easily figure out on your own, that kind of stuff. And, we always talk, we want students to collaborate, and collaboration face-to-face is pretty easy, but online collaboration can sometimes be difficult. So I will always try to facilitate that with making a collaborative space for them. So here I made little discussion groups for the cafeteria group and the library group, and they could use this to share files, or if they were doing some kind of asynchronous communication, they could use this space. And I can see the cafeteria group did not use the space, and that's fine. I'm just making it available for them. And the library group, okay, here's my file. Okay, here's the new file. So, a couple of days separate, where they are kind of sharing with each other. And I know these two were friends, they had Line and other forms of communication. So they didn't have to use this, but I just like to make something that if you need to communicate asynchronously, here is a place where you know where to go and it's easy to get to. Sorry. So then the assignment was to write a newspaper article based on your information as part 1, and make a news report video as your assignment part 2. So, students are used to writing reports and writing Microsoft Word and things like that. And I wanted them to focus, this is more of a news story, not a report you're writing to me. And anytime you're doing something with technology, I feel like I should try to give them something that any student can use that doesn't a free resource available for whatever they want. So, one example was, I had, you can use this website. And let's see, I pre-prepared today's talk in here. So let's see, I'm gonna make this news article and hopefully it will come out. It's just downloaded, and OkiJALT HOLT 2022 student news hour. And I guess it goes here, this is basically all of the information that was in the PDF file. And I added a little picture, and this, I guess, international moose count underway is extra stuff. But, showing them that there are these kind of creative resources they can use to make something interesting. Now, these students, none of them used this particular resource, but they did make kind of newspapery files. So I'll share what they did. So here is the cafeteria interview group. And you can see they put it together kind of like you might see in a newspaper story, and they added some pictures, and that was a requirement. It had to be your own media, your own photos or your own videos or something like that. So I think it looks pretty good. It has the basic information, and I enjoyed seeing it like this, and I'll share the other one. Here's the library one. And, they have, little sections of their thing, countermeasures. And I was really pleased to see this. But, part of my goal in class is to, facilitate the communication and get them communicating more. So they've done this pre-work of collecting data and putting it together, and they've put it together as this newspaper article. But now let's put it together as like a video news report, like you're going to be on TV reporting it. And for simple instructions, let me go back to my previous screen share. So for the video instructions, it should include pictures or live video of the location while you record your voice making the report. And between your smartphone, your PowerPoint, Zoom, cooperation, collaboration, and imagination, I'm sure you can make a great video story. And this is, to make a recording like we're doing now, we're recording these Zoom sessions, that Zoom, just having a meeting by yourself and recording it during a screen share or this kind of background now is enough to make a pretty decent video for the students. So when I give them an assignment like this, I like to share, here's the tools you have already that you can do it. And let me just share a little bit of what these two teams created. So I'm going to share this video. And here's the school cafeteria. This team is using Zoom to make their recording. And I'll show like a minute or so of this.
This cafeteria is open to the general public and students. And it is run by the Fusion Food System company. It is approximately 1 kilometer from JR Sojiji on foot. It takes about 15 to 12 minutes.
So you can see he's hitting the screen. And one of the things I told them was, you don't need to memorize this whole script. Just pause the recording, get what you're going to say next, and unpause it, and you can move forward. So it looks like he's making eye contact with the camera. At one point, I do see him look at his phone. But again, that wasn't the point to memorize. It was just to create some kind of news report. And this will get a little more collaborative in a second.
The cafeteria has a capacity of 355 seats now. Actually, there are approximately 600 seats, including the counter seats of the OGU cafeteria. The cafeteria seems to be crowded mainly on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. They cook up to 28 kilograms of rice on busy days. I'm gonna interview that worker. Is this a good time to talk?
Yes, of course.
So I don't know if you can see, but he's using one of these video filters to have the mustache on the guy. I thought this was pretty funny.
I have a question. What has changed or affected by the COVID-19?
It seems that the number of students who come to the cafeteria has decreased compared to last year because the introduction of online class.
Thank you for answering my interview.
So these guys did a great job, and they used the basic technology that they have easy access to, and that was all I asked for. And I really thought this was funny when I saw the mustache. It was like a good thing. And then the next group.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Misa. Today, I'd like to talk about Otemongaku University's library. I will talk about this topic in 4 parts. First, I will talk about information about the library. The library at Otemongaku University's Sojiji campus is called Alumni Library. We need students,
Or as we say in English, alumni.
and cards when you enter the library. Inside there are 2 floors, the third and a half floor.
Okay, I'm running out of my time here. I think 15 minutes to have some time to talk, but so this one was really nice. She used completely different technology as group work. The only thing obvious was that was one of her partners here. but everything else is just this one student talking. And you know, she has all of these transitions coming up. I asked her what software she used. She said she just found something free on for Windows that she could make videos with and edit with, but really took it as creating a whole, you know, video presentation, not a PowerPoint presentation. So finally, the lesson ended with, you know, showing these videos in classes to the other students and just getting their own comments and feedback. But I was really pleased with it as a creative endeavor and letting them use the same material in different media. And I could see, you know, expanding it, you know, okay, make it into like a podcast episode or a radio news or something like that. And again, I think the key points to make this possible with my students were the news itself was relatively easy to find out and to talk to people. And it was something they could envision doing, you know, finding this kind of information, or what kind of information do they want. So this was, yeah, I really liked this lesson, and I really was pleasantly surprised with what these students produced. And I'm sure they worked together on some of it. You know, the video, it's hard to tell, but yeah, for me, I think this was a good lesson for the students and for the class itself. So I think I have like 5 minutes for questions or comments, and I'm happy to take those. And I will stop my share. Thank you for the applause, Madoka, and Max, and David, and George, and Dion.